A. Executive summary. Over the next decade, India is likely to remain one of the fastest-growing large economies in the world. Near-term official forecasts, IMF/Fitch/World Bank, put real GDP growth in the approximately 6–7% range for 2025-26. With ambitious reforms and higher investment, India could average approximately 7–8% real growth and substantially increase its share of global GDP by 2035. The World Bank says roughly 7.8% average would be needed to reach high-income status by 2047. Demographics are a big tailwind. India already has the world's largest population and a large working-age cohort. Population momentum will continue to 2035 but will begin to slow later in the century. B. 3 quantitative scenarios, 2025, 2045, 2035 highlights. I present compact scenario envelopes so you can see plausible ranges. Short notes. IMF WB short-term numbers anchor years 2025-27. Longer years are scenario assumptions. 1. Baseline, business as usual. Real GDP growth, approximately 6.8% PA through late 2020s, gradually moderating to approximately 5.6% by 2035. IMF WEO currently tilde 6.4% for 2025-26. Nominal GDP size, rough guide, somewhere between tilde $8–11 trillion USD nominal by 2035 depending on inflation and exchange rates. My earlier scenario plot illustrates a similar band. Outcome, steady poverty reduction, faster urbanization, continuation of services-led strength and gradual manufacturing gains. 2. Ambitious, reform plus investment real GDP, approximately 7.0% PA for an extended stretch if investment, infrastructure and productivity improvements accelerate. Public capex plus FDI plus manufacturing scale up. World Bank says tilde 7.8% AVG would be needed for high income by 2047. Nominal PPP size. India could plausibly reach tilde $10–15 trillion nominal by 2035, and substantially larger in PPP terms. PwC estimates large value creation by 2035. Outcome: faster job creation, rising per capita incomes, robust fiscal space if revenues follow. 3. High risk, transformational, best plausible, real GDP, 8% plus sustained, difficult but not impossible, requires sweeping reforms, big rises in private investment and productivity. By 2035, India could move from a large middle-income economy toward the global top 3 by PPP share. By 2047, it could approach high-income classification if growth is sustained. Outcome: very large improvements in standards of living, but attainment depends on education, governance, and climate resilience. Director thematic outlooks. Population and labor. India is the largest population globally, 1.47 billion in mid-2025 estimates, and will add working-age people for the next decade, a potential demographic dividend if jobs or skills absorb them. If not, youth unemployment and underemployment become political problems. Jobs in human capital services, IT, finance, professional services, manufacturing, electronics, autos, pharmaceuticals, and domestic demand, consumer, housing, urban infra, will be major growth drivers. Improving education and skilling at scale is the binding constraint for better jobs. Technology and digitalization, rapid digital adoption, fintech, payments, e-commerce, AI adoption, will keep productivity gains flowing into services and some manufacturing. India's startup ecosystem and digital payments penetration are structural advantages. Geopolitics and trade. India's strategic position, Indo-Pacific supply chain diversification and partnerships, US, EU, ASEAN, create upside in trade and FDI, but geopolitical friction, trade barriers or protectionism, for example tariffs, could slow export growth. Recent trade tensions are already flagged by partners and rating agencies. Climate and environment. Heat, water stress, floods and agricultural vulnerability are material risks to growth and welfare. Climate impacts may reduce labor productivity and crop yields unless adaptation and resilient infrastructure scale up. Fiscal and monetary. Continued revenue reforms, improved tax collection, and rationalized subsidies will determine the state's capacity to invest in infrastructure and social services. Macro stability, inflation, interest rates will influence private investment. D. Main risks, downside, and levers, upside. Key downside risks: global shocks, recession in major markets, sharp tightening of global financing, protectionist trade policy, or major climate events. Failure to create enough productive jobs for new labor entrants, social and political strain, productivity stagnation because of weak reforms or poor governance, policy levers, what unlocks the upside, higher and better quality investment, infrastructure, power, logistics, education and health reforms to lift human capital and female labor force participation, business environment reforms that convert informal firms to formal, improve land and labor regulations, and attract FDI, climate adaptation and resilient infrastructure investment, continued digital reforms and affordable finance to SMEs. What I can produce for you right now. A detailed scenario chart for India's GDP, real and nominal, 2025-2047 under the baseline, ambitious, transformational scenarios. I can reuse and expand my earlier projections. Per capita GDP and employment projections with UN population assumptions. A policy brief, 2-3 pages, summarizing steps to reach the World Bank high income by 2047 path and the fiscal cost benefits. A slide deck with visuals, PNG PPEX, you can use in presentations. Sources, key load-bearing. IMF, World Economic Outlook Update, July 2025, Global and India Growth Projections. World Bank, India Country Economic Memorandum, Becoming a High-Income Economy in a Generation, February 2025. PwC India Report, Value Unlocking to 2035, GVA $9.82 trillion by 2035. UN World Population Prospects 2024, Population Projections. Recent market rating commentary, Fitch, Reuters, on India growth revisions and risks.